What a gritty team Cape Verde is. Welcome to a new World Cup analysis. We're going to talk about what happened between Uruguay and Cape Verde. It was a match worth renting the balcony for. It was a great game, not only because of what Uruguay brought to the table, which should definitely be highlighted. Obviously, it was Uruguay who proposed it. But also, I dare to say, the great game that Cape Verde played as well. For me, they are the surprise of the World Cup. Surprise revelation of this World Cup, whatever you want to call it. But it was a great game by Cape Verde. That's why we're analyzing it here on Falso Nueve TV en Colco. Let's get started. There are a lot of things to talk about in this match. Above all, the drive, the grit, the heart that the Cape Verde players put into this game to face this match, where they initially took the lead and then Uruguay ended up coming back. Then Cape Verde scored one more goal and that sealed the score. 2-2. But above all, I want to highlight and emphasize the approach of the players and also the coach of Cape Verde, which was very good. Bielsa's team, I don't want to say they fell short because it was a good match. They set it up well, they played well, they did well. I think Uruguay played a good match. Tactically, Uruguay moved well and responded to what was needed, to the needs of the match. But simply, they came up against a tough defense, an organized defense, and that's what ended up resulting in this draw. Let's talk about how the teams took to the field. Here it is, a 4-5-1 making a lot of use of direct play. The team led by Marcelo Bielsa. Yes, using the flanks, especially the sides, both the left and the right. They used Canovio a lot, who was one of the most influential players in the match. But on the other side, there was also Maxi Araujo, trying to play vertically and go all the way to the end line, either to cross the ball for the striker or to finish the play inside. But the match was very good for the Uruguayans. Also for the Cape Verde team, who started with a 4-5-1. It was almost a mirror formation, but there were some variations during the match. But above all, they stayed very compact, so they could transition quickly. They would counterattack as soon as Cape Verde recovered the ball, and the transitions were immediately very fast. So let's jump to the board. This is the block, the ones in red. A very compact block, closing the spaces and closing all the gaps that might be in the central lane. And maybe at times leaving these lanes open so that the Uruguayan team could attack these spaces. These were the spaces that the Uruguayan team used the most, but the main area of influence was always here in the middle of the field. This area was the most influential for both Federico Valverde and Rodrigo Betancourt. Ugarte joined in. He was very involved in the play here. And when the fullbacks pushed forward, what Ugarte did was provide balance by forming a line of three with the center backs to set up something like a 4-3. Today, Viñas was a bit absent, and later he was substituted by Darwin Núñez. He was a bit absent. But we do have to highlight and emphasize the good game from Uruguay. It's true. They didn't get the result they wanted, but that's because of the way Cape Verde played. A responsible way, an organized way, helping, covering, running, going the extra mile. And Lopez's game, let me tell you, the game of this number 4 was excellent. An aerial barrier. He closed all the spaces, constantly covering behind his. This number 4 played a really good game. The truth is that this number 4 played a really good game because he moved where he was constantly moving to close down and cover for his teammates. In the end, I think Uruguay didn't get the result. I repeat, Uruguay played a good game because from my point of view, they didn't play badly, but it just didn't work out for them. They faced a very tough Cape Verde, and that's why they ended up drawing the match. I have to say that Uruguay, another South American team that's having a tough time again, is going to have a really hard time Their last match will be against Spain. Cape Verde has a good chance of qualifying. I repeat, they could be the surprise of the World Cup if they beat Arabia. By beating Arabia, they would automatically secure second place, depending on what happens between Spain and Uruguay. I think it's very difficult for Uruguay to beat Spain. I insist, Uruguay plays well. Uruguay plays well. It's just that there's an issue with finishing. There's also the fact that they came up against a good tactical setup. And you have to give credit to Cabo Verde as well, who ended up playing a good match. Plus, that tactical discipline was reflected in the score, in the result. You can't underestimate the opponent, but you also can't overlook the mistakes that were made. Defensive mistakes, marking mistakes, but Uruguay didn't play a bad match. On the contrary, Uruguay played a very good match. But, as always, the most important opinion, yes, is yours. So I'll read your comments down there. I'll read them. Leave your like, subscribe, and of course, stay tuned to all the World Cup programming here on Falso Nueve TV. We'll see you in another World Cup analysis. Don't miss it. Subscribe so you can stay up to date with what we talk about here on Falso Nueve TV. See you next time. Very soon. Bye-bye.